Have you ever lain awake in the dark, your body exhausted, but your mind still running, replaying conversations that didn't go the way you hoped, mentally rehearsing tomorrow's tasks before today has even finished, feeling a quiet, restless weight in your chest that no amount of tiredness seems to dissolve? Have you ever closed your eyes and realized with a strange sadness that you cannot remember the last time you truly let a day end? That instead of releasing it, you simply carried it forward like luggage you never set down. This is not weakness. This is not failure. This is what happens when a person has been taught slowly and relentlessly that productivity is virtue and rest must be earned. In the culture you live in, the day is measured by what was finished, what was achieved, what was checked off the list. And so the night becomes not a sanctuary, but an extension of the workday, a place where the unfinished business of your waking hours follows you into the dark, where the mind refuses to stop performing even after the lights go out. You lie there and think about what you said wrong. You think about what you should have done differently. You think about what tomorrow demands of you before tomorrow has even arrived. The shoulders stay lifted. The jaw stays tense. The breath stays shallow. And somewhere beneath all of that noise, a quieter part of you simply longs to rest, not just the body, but the whole of you. You are not alone in this. Millions of people cross the threshold of sleep every night without ever truly arriving there. They close their eyes, but they do not close the day. And the cost of that, accumulated night after night, is something that goes beyond fatigue. It becomes a kind of inner crowding, a feeling that there is never enough space inside you, never enough silence, never enough stillness to hear what your own heart is trying to say. What if tonight could be different? Not because you have solved everything, not because the world has become simpler or the list has grown shorter, but because you have learned something the ancient teachers understood long before the modern world made rest feel like a luxury. The night is not just biology, it is a threshold, a sacred passage between one version of you and the next. And how you cross it determines, more than almost anything else, the quality of the person who wakes up on the other side. If this kind of wisdom speaks to something you have been quietly searching for, consider staying close to this space. There is much more waiting for you here, and none of it asks you to be anything other than exactly who you already are. The Buddha taught that suffering does not come from the hardness of life itself. It comes from the way the mind grips life, tightly, anxiously, as if releasing even one thing would cause everything else to collapse. And nowhere is this gripping more visible than in the way most people end their days. The night could be a teacher. It could be a gentle, reliable invitation to practice the one thing that brings more peace than any achievement ever has. The practice of letting go, not as a dramatic act, not as a surrender, but as a small, deliberate, deeply human choice made in the quiet of the evening, one breath at a time. What follows are 6 reflections, not rules, not instructions, not a checklist for you to fail at. Think of them as 6 doors, each one opening onto a different kind of spaciousness. You do not have to walk through all of them tonight. You do not have to do any of this perfectly. You only have to be willing to pause, to breathe, and to allow the day to finally, gently become the past. The first reflection begins with something deceptively simple, and yet for many people it is the hardest thing of all. It begins with these 4 words: today is complete now. Not finished in the sense that everything was accomplished, not resolved in the sense that every tension was smoothed over, but complete in the way that all things are complete, because the hours have passed, because the sun has set, because this particular arrangement of moments will never exist again, and because nothing you do in the darkness of tonight will change what happened in the light of today. Buddhist wisdom speaks often about impermanence, the truth that nothing lasts, that every experience rises and falls, that even the most difficult day is by its nature already moving away from you. But for most people, impermanence is something they understand in their minds without feeling in their bodies. The mind knows that yesterday is gone. The nervous system behaves as though it never left. And so you lie down carrying the full weight of the day, every conversation, every mistake, every moment that didn't unfold as you imagined it should, as though reviewing it one more time might somehow change its outcome. It will not. And somewhere beneath the anxious rehearsal, you already know this. The day you live today will never be different than it was. This is not a tragedy. This is, if you allow yourself to feel it fully, an extraordinary relief. You are not responsible for rewriting what has already been written. You are only responsible for how you enter the next chapter. Think of the day as a river you have been walking beside since morning. All day long, the water moved, sometimes gently, sometimes with unexpected force, and you moved with it, doing your best to stay on your feet, to respond with whatever grace you could find in the moment. And now, the river has passed this particular bend. The water you walked beside this morning is already somewhere else entirely. You cannot call it back. You cannot redirect it. You can only stand on the bank, watch it continue on its way, and allow yourself to stop walking. Tonight, before anything else, place one hand on your chest. Feel the rise and fall of your own breathing, and say, silently or aloud, in whatever way feels most natural, today is complete. Let those words do their quiet work. Let them signal to your nervous system that the performance of this day is over, that the curtain has come down, that you are allowed, truly, fully allowed, to stop. From that recognition, something else becomes possible, because when you are no longer gripping the past, your hands are finally free to receive what this moment is actually offering. And what this moment is offering, if you are willing to look at it clearly, is something the anxious mind almost always overlooks. It is offering evidence, quiet, ordinary, easily dismissed evidence that today held gifts. And the second reflection asks you to see them. Gratitude in the culture you inhabit has been flattened into a productivity tool. Lists of 3 things you are grateful for, morning journal prompts, positive psychology exercises. And while none of those things are harmful, they can miss the deeper point entirely. The Buddha did not teach gratitude as a technique for feeling better. He taught it as a correction to a fundamental misperception. The misperception that what we have is somehow insufficient, that what arrived today was somehow less than what we deserved, that the gap between what is and what should be is where our attention belongs. But the gap is not where your life is. Your life is here, in the warmth of the blanket around your shoulders, in the fact that your heart has been beating without your permission or your assistance for every single hour of this long day. Your life is in the conversation you had that mattered, even if it was brief. In the meal you tasted, however quickly. In the moment when something, a slant of afternoon light, the sound of a familiar voice, the smell of coffee going cold on your desk, landed in your awareness with a precision that no amount of planning could have arranged. Even in the difficult days, especially in the difficult days, something was given. Perhaps it was the gift of patience that was demanded of you, and somehow imperfectly you found it. Perhaps it was the gift of knowing more clearly than you did yesterday what you truly value. Perhaps it was only the gift of breath, but breath is not a small thing. Breath is the invisible thread that connects this moment to the next, and to every moment that has come before. A leaf floating on still water does not question whether the water is sufficient to hold it. It simply rests and is held. Tonight, allow yourself to rest in what was given, not because it was everything you wanted, but because it was real and it was yours, and it deserves to be seen before it passes. And then, having seen it, having let the gratitude settle not just in your thoughts, but in the actual warmth behind your sternum, you are ready for the third reflection. The one that many people avoid most carefully. The one that asks more of you than acknowledgement. It asks for release. It asks you to forgive. The mind that goes to bed carrying resentment does not rest. It ruminates. It replays the moment of injury over and over, the harsh word, the broken promise, the small cruelty that was never acknowledged, as though repetition might finally produce the justice that the moment itself withheld. But the ancient teachers understood something about this process that modern psychology is only now beginning to confirm. When you hold on to resentment, you are not punishing the person who hurt you. You are extending the hurt. You are choosing, without realizing you are choosing, to let that moment continue living inside your body, in the tension of your jaw, in the tightness across your chest, in the way your breath shortens every time your mind returns to what happened. There is a teaching that describes resentment as carrying a burning coal with the intention of throwing it at someone else. The coal does not wait. It burns the hand that holds it. And the longer you hold it, the deeper the burn. Forgiveness, in this light, is not about the other person at all. It is not an absolution you grant to someone who wronged you. It is not a statement that what happened was acceptable. It is simply the act of opening your hand and letting the coal fall. It is the recognition that you deserve to stop being burned. And this applies, perhaps most urgently, to the forgiveness you owe yourself. Because if you look honestly at the weight you carry into sleep, you will find that much of it is not resentment toward others at all. It is resentment toward yourself. For the thing you said that came out wrong, for the opportunity you did not take, for the version of yourself that showed up today, imperfect, inconsistent, sometimes impatient, sometimes afraid, when you had hoped for something cleaner. Tonight, that person deserves your compassion. That person was doing the best they could with what they had, and the best they could, however messy it looked, was enough to get you here to this moment, still breathing, still capable of reflection, still willing to try again tomorrow. Place your hand on your heart again. Say, with as much gentleness as you can access, I forgive myself for today. I forgive what I could not control. I forgive what I did not yet know how to do differently. Let those words be a beginning, not a conclusion. Forgiveness does not have to be complete tonight. It only has to be started. And from that softening, the fourth reflection rises naturally, because when you stop punishing yourself for what you didn't do perfectly, you become able to see with unexpected clarity what you actually did. You practiced. Imperfectly, inconsistently, sometimes barely, but you practiced. You showed up for this day. You navigated its complications with whatever tools you currently possess. And the Buddha would say that this, the sincere effort, the genuine attempting, is where the real work of a human life actually lives. The culture you live in measures effort by outcome. If the outcome was not what you intended, the effort is retroactively diminished. But the Dharma measures effort differently. It measures it by sincerity, by the direction your heart was pointing when you acted, not by whether the action landed perfectly. Every moment today, when you chose patience over reaction, even if you only half succeeded, was a seed. Every moment when you noticed your own mind and returned to something more open, even if the return lasted only seconds, was a seed. Seeds do not announce themselves. They do not perform their growth for an audience. They work in the dark, quietly, and in their own time they become something that could not have been predicted from looking at the seed. You planted seeds today. You may not see them for weeks or months or years, but the planting was real. The effort was real. And it is enough, not as consolation, but as truth. This is not a rehearsal for the life you will eventually deserve to live. This is the life, and you are meeting it as honestly as you know how. If these reflections are offering you something you have been looking for, a way to end your days with more peace, more self-compassion, more genuine rest, then stay close to this space. There is more here, offered in the same spirit, waiting whenever you are ready. And now the fifth reflection, perhaps the one that asks the least of you and offers the most in return. It asks only that you remember, everything changes. The difficulty you are carrying tonight will not feel exactly like this tomorrow. The worry that feels so solid, so permanent, so cemented into the structure of your life, it is not a stone, it is water, and water moves. This is not optimism, this is not the shallow reassurance that everything will be fine. Buddhist teachings on impermanence are not comfort designed to make you feel better in the short term. They are observations about the nature of reality, careful, precise, and ultimately liberating. Nothing is static. Not your circumstances, not your mood, not the shape of your challenges, not the people in your life, not even the version of yourself that struggled through today. All of it is in motion. All of it is, at this very moment, already beginning to change. The joy you felt last year has already transformed into something else. Memory, gratitude, the quiet knowledge of what is possible. The pain you felt 6 months ago has already softened in ways you probably have not fully noticed yet. The problem that consumed you 3 weeks ago has either shifted or revealed dimensions you didn't see when you were in the middle of it. This is not coincidence. This is the nature of all things. Life is a river, not a stone, and you are not meant to stand against its current. You are meant to float. Tonight, let yourself feel the relief of that. Let yourself acknowledge that the particular configuration of difficulty you are carrying right now is temporary, not because someone has promised you a better tomorrow, but because impermanence does not play favorites. It dissolves difficulty the same way it dissolves joy, the same way it dissolves every fixed idea you have ever had about how things were supposed to be. And in that dissolution, again and again, there is space. There is the possibility of something new arriving. Let the river move. Let tonight carry what today could not resolve. Trust that morning will bring a different water entirely. And finally, the sixth reflection, the one that turns the light outward, not because your own healing is complete, but because there is a kind of spaciousness that only becomes available when the circle of your care expands beyond the boundaries of your own concern. The Buddhist practice of metta, loving kindness, has been taught for more than 2 millennia, not as a sentimental exercise, but as a precise technology for the transformation of the mind. When you deliberately cultivate the wish that others be well, something shifts in the architecture of your own inner life. The mind that is contracting around its own suffering begins slowly to open. The sky, it turns out, is large enough to hold weather without becoming weather. Begin with yourself. In this moment, with your hand on your heart, say, "May I be safe. May I be at peace. May I be free from unnecessary suffering." Let those words be more than words. Let them be a genuine wish, the same wish you would offer without hesitation to someone you loved watching struggle. Then extend it to the people in your home or the people you thought of today. May they be safe. May they be at peace. May they be free. Then further, to the people who frustrated you today, who disappointed you, who perhaps did not show up as you needed them to, not because they deserve your warmth more than you deserve your own, but because holding them in a small, gentle light releases the part of you that has been tightened around them. To strangers, to people far away, whose names you will never know, but whose longing for safety and peace is identical to yours. May all beings be safe. May all beings be at peace. May all beings be free. The mind that practices this does not become naive. It does not lose its discernment or its boundaries. It simply becomes larger. Large enough that fear has less room to fill it. Large enough that the small daily insults to your ego find less purchase. Large enough, perhaps, that sleep arrives not as an escape from life, but as a natural continuation of it. The body's way of participating in the same vast, quiet movement that holds everything else. These 6 reflections are not a system to master. They are not 6 boxes to check before you are allowed to close your eyes. They are 6 ways of arriving in this moment more fully. 6 small acts of turning toward yourself with the same gentleness you have always been more willing to offer others than to claim for yourself. Some nights you will do all 6. Some nights you will manage only 1. Some nights even 1 will feel like too much, and you will simply breathe and let that be enough, because it is enough. Every genuine return to your breath, to the present, to the quiet recognition that this day mattered and this night is sacred, is enough. The ancient teachers did not promise that these practices would make life easier. They promised something more valuable, that practiced with sincerity. Over time, they would make you freer, free from the compulsive grip on what cannot be changed, free from the habit of carrying yesterday's weight into tomorrow's possibility, free, slowly and imperfectly and beautifully, from the belief that you have to earn your own peace. You do not have to earn it. It is already here, beneath the noise, beneath the performance, beneath the relentless forward motion of a life lived under pressure. Tonight, it is asking only one thing of you: to stop, to breathe, to let the day complete itself without your interference, to receive what was given, release what cannot be changed, forgive what was imperfect, honor what was sincere, trust the river, and open your heart just slightly, just enough, to the vast and wordless wish that all living things, including you, might rest tonight in safety and in peace. May your nights become thresholds and not just intervals. May the sleep that finds you carry away what no longer serves you and return you with the morning to something a little lighter and a little more free. And if you wish to continue walking this path, one gentle reflection at a time, stay close, because there is always more wisdom here, waiting to meet you exactly where you are.